Mitan Kafoua, c'est podium pour tout haïtien ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire. Quel que soit côté où il y a à travers le monde, nous menons sur podium Mitan Kafoua. Moun sa yo, c'est moun pa yo, c'est moun pam yo. Nous devons valoriser dans Mitan Kafoua. Ce sont des haïtiens qui font un travail extraordinaire. Ils sont des moun ordinaires. Yo humble, yo pas aimé parler de tête yo. C'est ça yo fait qui parle pour yo. Et je dis à yo bon une chance. Yo vinn partager vie privée yo, vie professionnelle yo. Avec vous, côté quoi besoin inspiration, côté que y a guidé pour capable progresser tout. Mitan Kafoua, c'est podium tout haïtien ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire. Nous valorisons dans Mitan Kafoua. Salut tout le monde, bienvenue dans Mitan Kafoua. Nous connaissons que Mitan Kafoua, c'est podium pour tout haïtien ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire. Des gens qui ne parlent pas de tête, c'est ça yo fait qui parle pour yo. Et me toujours nous dit moun ça yo fait valeur, yo valoriser nous dans tout ça, y a fait quel que soit côté et à travers le monde. Non pas moi, c'est Marc Lubin. Faut que nous continuions à valoriser tête nous dans Mitan Kafoua parce que si nous pas faire pas gain l'autre monde qui fait pour nous. Eh bien, je dis à un rôle modèle. Une jeune haïtienne qui fait aux États-Unis, qui parle créole, qui parle anglais, qui engage dans aider pays, dans aider haïtiens pareil. Et il fait pour un job parce que son jazz que le remet tout, et puis qu'on y a le responsable business jazz. Nous allons parler de toute bagaille. Mais ça qui est important, il passe dans Spellman. Et si je dis Spellman, je vais quitter que l'expliquer. C'est une université qui aux États-Unis, qui est dans Atlanta, côté que l'université ça, son bagage historique lié pour moun qui noir, pour Américains noirs dans le pays États-Unis. Nous ne parlons pas de toute bagaille ça, mais il faut me dire nous, abonnez, subscribe dans la chaîne YouTube Mitan Kafoua, suivez-nous. Fais amis avec nous sur Facebook. Pour qui ça? La bon pour nous. Nous avons des Haïtiens qui rôle modèle que nous pas créé non, ils existent déjà. Moun sa nous besoin pour nous mener sur le podium pour nous dire merci pour tout ça fait. Pour moi parce que yo valoriser nous, je dis à nous pral valoriser. Mademoiselle Jessica GOURDET sur le podium Mitan Kafoua. Mademoiselle ou bien madame GOURDET.
Oui.
Nabdou, bienvenue dans Mitan Kafoua.
Merci. Ma forme, mais vous-même.
Nous, là, OK. Il faut me rappeler que vous avez un bachelier dans art et psychologie. Ça veut dire que sont gens qui suivent les gens, qui gardent les gens, qui suivent le comportement. Et ça aide en pile dans tout ça qu'on fait.
En pile, oui.
Et ça m'a demandé dans le commencement, là, bon petit détail de vous-même. Qui vous fait? Fait comme si je me batte connaît.
OK.
Bon petit détail de vous.
Oui, moi c'est Jessica GOURDET. Moi fait dans les États-Unis, New Jersey, c'est côté me fait me lever ici and moi j'ai là quel âge? 30 ans. Wow, I'm 30 years old. Moi c'est entrepreneur, me fait business and ça c'est focus moi. Pour qu'on y ait, mais c'est dans le moment ça, même si je fais New Jersey, j'ai un business dans New Jersey, dans Vauxhall Union, et puis gérer business moi dans Atlanta, et then qu'on y a ma travail avec Jazz là, ça aussi fait dans Florida. So, dépenser tout le temps dans trois villes, trois États, différents. But c'est comme ça.
Parlez-nous de enfance. On va parler de mamie, de papi, de mon enfant. Bon, petit détail sur maman.
Sure, yes. So, on dit, maman et papa. So, maman, c'est mon la Tibonite lié, marchand des salines. Et papa, c'est mon la Zile. So, ouais, nord avec sud. Yo a rentré dans Port-au-Prince. And so, c'est là ça, après yo marié, papa est venu aux États-Unis premier. Et puis, il travaille pour quelques années. Il dit, like, 4 années. Il travaille serré jusqu'à ce qu'il ait voyé pour maman. So, maman passé, il est venu et puis quand il est arrivé, premier, il a fait puis grand frère, lui-même t'ai fait avant, et then c'est moi-même qui deuxième là, et puis il un petit sœur. So c'est nous trois, et oui.
Oui, le papa rentré comme premier monde qui est rentré. Qui détaille papa bail parce que assurément il est rentré dans le pays, il n'a pas parlé langue là. Et il qui était droit pour qu'on ait famille ici le rentré. Qui ça papa dit de passer le rentré?
Well, so moi respecte papa en pile parce que travail que il fait, je pas connais si m'te ka faire. Ou connais, il pas parler anglais.
Okay.
Et qui est-ce qui aide c'est te gen un groupe monde ça t'a yo vini États-Unis avant et puis yo rete ensemble, yo commencé à acheter caille, yo fait place pour l'autre monde, ça que t'as besoin venir tout. So papa li dit cousine ni, t'es vini avant et puis après yo bâti la vie pa yo fait un la vie pour tête yo voyé pour papa et puis chaque monde ça même n'importe temps yo joindre visa, yo joindre billet, ticket avion pour venir, yo fait un plan. Et moment que yo arrivé, c'est cousine moi avec tout l'autre monde yo ça que là déjà, yo fait un petit programme côté y a montré en anglais pour travail facile, juste quelques directions. C'est pas tout anglais pour fort, mais pour comprendre direction dans travail, comprendre. C'est eux même qui set up façon un moyen pour papa me joindre job. Et puis papa me t'a dit, il te travaille 3 jobs. Il t'a payé 2 ou bien $3 par l'heure. 3 jobs. Il dit parfois il compte dormir 2 heures, 3 heures chaque jour.
Wow.
Et puis il serré. N'importe quel job il a fait, n'importe quel job il cherché, ça a quitté monde, pas besoin de parler anglais trop. Vinon, on a fait ça pour journée, on a fait ça pour 2-3 jours, job contrat. So, il fait ça. Et après, il vient bon tout détail ça. Je dis, je respecte en pile parce que là, il vient là, il va payer pas, il pas même jamais à Haïti. Vous comprenez? Lui-même, il était élevé dans un dehors. Tout le monde GOURDET dans l'asile, c'était cultivateur.
Okay,
so, il y a terre, il manger pas de jamais mon problème parce que il fait, il y a bon mais il fait terre. And so, là où vient aux États-Unis, c'est là ça, ouais, ok. Yo traité mon noir différent ici là. Vous connaissez? Il pas de terre. Tout ça le connaît, faut le quitter.
C'est travail quitter pour apprendre l'autre bagaille.
So le quitter pour aller travailler dans Freddy parce que New Jersey, ouais, si vous faites Freddy ou pas jamais monter là like il était fret en pile, vous connaissez, il pas connaît l'anglais, il pas de terre. Faut apprendre l'autre skills pour
pour le capable servir.
Pour le yeah. And so il fait ça pour longtemps. So but je suis fière de papa de ça.
Et mamie?
Mamie, ok, so maman, le papa m'était États-Unis après que tout ça, maman li allait l'école pour cuisine pour faire manger. Comment si me songe noir? Marie Devaro.
Marie Devarieux.
Devarieux. Oui. Devarieux, dans Port-au-Prince. Oui, il étudie en bas.
Pour le deviner chef, pour le cap faire manger.
Yes, et il fait bon manger. Bon manger. So, l'elle vient aux États-Unis, ça me songe. Depuis bébé, ça me songe. C'est tout voisin, t'es haïtien. Ou bien Poyol. Yo tout haïtien and me songe en pile moun t'a prélé like yo dit oh qui ça ou fait jodi a qui mange au cuit n'importe ça ou gen m'a vinn acheter nan men.
Wow.
So kounya moi papa m'a porté manger by moun a acheter he just delivers the food maman m'a cuit
manger
chaque jour moi maman m'a campé dans cuisine a cuit moun a prélé qui ça moun a passé c'est comme moi ouais que m'te pensé m'te Haïti. L'aime te petit parce que tout le monde a parlé créole, tout le monde a passé bon la counou dans kainou à manger, tout le monde connaît maman, yo respecte parce que te gen on pile monsieur, on pile garçon. Ou pas yo pas qu'on fait manger. So on connaît là où vient aux États-Unis ouais Chinese, pizza etc. Yo dit oh on besoin bon diri sauce là, kote kalalou, you know, so maman t'a fait et so yo content en pile et pour quelques années c'est ça m'te ouais avec maman. So avant jusqu'à ce que avant nous serrer assez l'argent et puis nous move dans l'autre place et puis il pas fait manger encore, il a fait nursing. So
ça veut dire que maman passait de cuisinière côté elle fait à domicile la caille puis qu'on y a là elle fait nursing.
Yes.
Et puis qu'on y a c'est l'autre. Et qui ça maman explique de expérience ça parce qu'ils font paquet d'expérience pour arriver côté arriver.
Oh.
OK, qui niveau l'école maman avec papa est arrivé? Parce que même bachelier et même plus que ça, et regarder qui niveau d'études que vous pensez vous arrivé?
Well, je connais papa me fait des années à l'école, associate's degree.
Okay.
Non, je me songe me te connais écrit noir, bois en tonnerre, on va comme ça non. Yeah, dans Haïti. Et maman te commencé avec quelques collèges, but tant vie ça accepté il y aller, il y aller.
Mais malgré ça, il venu, il faut comprendre que éducation sont pas qui important parce que moi regarder dans la biographie que vous voyez bon moi, il y a 3 L.
Yes.
Et 3 L ça est important pour moun ko vini aujourd'hui. Et faut me rappeler que non seulement aux États-Unis et ou aller à l'école ou faire high school ou dans Georgia, les sortent 15 ans et après ça collège dans Spelman.
Yes.
Ou parle parler de nos expériences ou parti ou aller en Chine comme professeur anglais. Mais ou est seulement 30 l'année. Alors, on a commencé pour parler de nos expériences qui sont à apprendre. Et peut-être qu'il y a un pile jeune qui dans l'âge ou monde qui moins jeune, monde qui beaucoup plus âgé tout et qui doivent chercher des moyens pour être capable d'arriver.
Oui.
Sorti yon moun senti yo fier de tête yo faire des bagages qui positifs non seulement pour tête yo pour un pile l'autre monde et nous ça me garder là on fait un pile bagages pour un pile l'autre monde sous cas qui était ici toi en Chine pour enseigner anglais et c'est parce qu'on remet aider on remet éduquer monde faire monde comprendre une série de bagages.
Oui, c'est comme
on commence avec 3L qui peut lever nous 4L.
OK.
Comment ça y est dans cas là alors commencer grandir c'est l'église,
l'école et la caille.
Et puis elle là c'est pour la vie parce que you connais que quand même that's the Haitian dream.
Yes.
The 4L will give you the Haitian dream. Alors bon petit détail sur ça. Est-ce que c'était bail qui te fort plaisir?
Wow. Well, vous connaissez ça me réaliser c'est là où a grandi et là où en dans caille la caille. Parents levé comme si c'était Simon Haïti mieux. So, mais où est différence là où à l'école parce que ma l'école États-Unis. So, moi tout yo noir, m'pa connaissais à parler créole tout. Moi en pile culture parce que en New Jersey li gen en pile monde
qui sont différents côtés.
Yes. So ça c'est diaspora tout bon de l'autre pays tout. So moi ouais là nous mélanger ensemble. On dit qui qui même qui manger n'a manger qui parole qui type de mots yo kon parler avec moi communication différente. So m'a regardé m'a dit oh gen tout le monde parler deux langues, 2 ou bien 3 langues. Vous comprenez? And no, pendant ce temps c'est pas ça. But moi prends yo tout yo kon parler 2 ou bien 3 langues. But pour lever dans Kailan, it was definitely bon commencer en anglais kounya. It was definitely I can understand why I was raised the way I was raised. You know, we had to make sure you wake up early, la prière, we had to do our prayers, make sure you eat before you leave the house and go to school on time. We had to dress a certain way to school. I wasn't allowed to wear whatever I wanted to school. Okay. I had to wear uniform clothes, even if we went to public school, because the public schools that I went to when I lived in West Orange were pretty good. But they kept us in uniform. They kept us in, you're not going to focus on clothes and shoes and what people show you on the appearance, on the outside. You need to be smart. And smart means you read, you understand, you ask questions, you do your homework. That was very big. That was something that you're not going outside to play if you didn't do your homework. And I didn't realize why it was so important at that time. Even on Saturdays, I'm like, oh, we all get to go outside. No, first you're gonna clean the house. You have to make sure the whole house is clean. And then relax, then you can go play outside. Sunday was church, twice a day. So morning and night, yes, we went to church. And I remember thinking, is there any day of the week I can have a break? I have to wake up early every day. But that was the discipline that I needed in order to be successful as an adult. So within our house, we were in Haiti. It was a little Haiti inside my house. And it wasn't until I left the house, that's when I realized I was different. How
different?
It was different because there were certain words, certain
ways,
behavior that we were expected to follow. And then when you go to school and you have friends, I want friends who look like me. And I want friends who, so luckily where I was from, there's a lot of Haitians. I grew up, most of my friends were Haitian. And I did have friends who weren't, but it was like the other struggle was being Black in America too. Because they look at me, they're not gonna say you're Haitian first. They're gonna say you're Black. And I had, like I said, my school was mixed. We had Indian, Chinese, white, but it wasn't just white, it was English, Italian, Irish, German. And then we had lots of Hispanics from everywhere, all over South America, Mexico. And we had Blacks from the Caribbean, but then we had Blacks who were born and raised in America. They don't know where their family comes from. And so you have to decide what your identity is in the U.S. So in my house, I was Haitian. And then when I left my house, who was I at school?
First, a Black person.
I'm a Black person, but sometimes I wasn't even Black enough. And I say I wasn't Black enough because, something as simple as fried chicken. We didn't eat fried chicken, like the KFC fried chicken that you would see here. So they're like, oh, soul food, fried chicken, cornbread, macaroni, collard greens. And I'm like,
not for you.
No, poule fouille panou, poule fouille, banane pesée, du riz, sauce pois.
Pickles.
Yeah, pickles. So it was like, I'm Caribbean American. I'm a West Indian. C'est là ça moi, moun Jamaïque, moun like Trinidad, moun yo gen manger similar. So when I see that, it was definitely a difference.
Est-ce que éducation que yo ba ou la kayo fait une différence dans la façon que ou pral parler avec l'autre monde même si nous sorti dans la même zone ou bien nous tous c'est noirs, mais est-ce que ça fait une grande différence au niveau de discipline qui pour mener au côté où tu veux aller?
Oui, bonne question. So, éducation, papa et maman montrent, parents montrent, c'est révolution Haïti. So, et m'pas j'oublié for Thanksgiving, I was in 5th grade, j'étais 11 ans. Et tout le monde a parlé, oh, look at the Indians, Native Americans, qui ont aidé mon anglais, Angleterre, da da da. And I raised my hand. I was like, teacher, besoin partager en histoire des pays PAM. So I wrote up a paper about the Haitian Revolution and why I'm thankful that we had Haiti do what it needed to do. And everyone they didn't know. So anytime I had to do a book report or some type of presentation, I would talk about Haiti because the way that my parents talked to me about the revolution, our founding fathers in Haiti, it made me realize that it was the spark that changed the world. Haiti was the richest colony. It was richesse. And people were greedy, they wanted it. But those who were enslaved, I don't call them slaves, I said you were enslaved, they refused to bow down. They were like, this is not going to be our fate at the end of the day, because we are not animals, we are humans, and we are intelligent, and we have the means to change our story and where we are. And so when I hear that in itself, I'm like, who am I now as a daughter of parents who came from humble beginnings, came to a country where they didn't speak the language, they didn't know how it worked, they left everything behind to come live in 10, 20 degree weather in New Jersey. Who am I now to falter, you know, to sit back and let things be handed to me when my founding fathers didn't allow that for themselves? They went after what they wanted, and they were successful, they were victorious. And so I use our story as Haitians in my journey towards success and what I want for my life.
Your parents, I'm so sure that they didn't know about Spellman.
Oh, no.
And when they started learning English, they can repeat it, they could read it. But maybe they didn't have time to read and know the story of that university. Qui j'en fait pour qu'on puisse rentrer dans Spellman? Ça c'est une. Deuxièmement, pour aller bailler par une nouvelle là, mais qui côté pour aller, et assurément, si pas gain aide financière pour couvrir, c'est eux pour le payer.
Right.
Alors, comment rentrer Spellman ou fait? Qui démarche? Comment ça t'est?
Well, it was a little difficult in the beginning, but I made it easier for myself because I was very focused in school. So I finished high school in Georgia. We moved, we got a house down there. And I'll be honest, I did not like my high school. I did not like
Why
Georgia.
not?
It was just so different. And like I said, I was raised around Caribbeans and very diverse community in New Jersey. So I moved to Georgia. It was slow. Everyone was either from the South or Mexican. They only knew one type of, it just was so foreign to me. I was like, where are all the Haitians? Where are all the, where are the Caribbeans?
My Caribbean people.
They were coming, but we were just there first. Okay. So I didn't like my high school, which it made me focus on being a leader. Because I was like, if I have to be here for 3 years to finish school, I might as well make the best of it.
That's the Haitian in you. Right?
Yes. So
you have to be a leader.
I might as well make the best of it because my situation isn't going to change. There's nothing I can do about this. So that's when I started.
Have you learned that from your parents? That if you are somewhere you not feel comfortable, the first thing that you need to do, create your way and make it go your way in a way that. Am I correct in what I'm saying?
Well, I think that comes down from my bloodline in general. I'm sure my grandma, the way my parents talk about their fathers and mothers, I know I probably inherited that from my grandfather. Yeah, grandmother, grandfather. It's not, if I can't change the circumstance, I will find a way to make it comfortable for me to thrive in. That's a better way of saying it. So in high school, I just started, I was cheerleading. I did all the clubs that I wanted to do. I was senior class president by the time I was senior. So I just focused on activities and things that would further my experience. And I learned about Spellman when I was in Georgia. I had heard about it. And when I went into it, I realized these women, it was a perfect school for me. I was like, these are Black women who are leaders, who are excited about education, not just, I'm here because I have to be. No, we are excited about education. We welcome challenge, we welcome a well-rounded education. These are not people you have to force to read. No, we want to read on our own, When I say leaders, these are the women who, when they put their passion into something, they are determined to change the environment. It is, as we say, a choice to change the world. And I saw that I went to Spelman to visit, and I am someone who, if my spirit, my energy feels comfortable, I'm going to commit. And while I was there, I was just smiling from ear to ear. I was like, oh my goodness, look at this. They have this program, they have all of that. And I felt like this was a place where I could focus truly on who I am as a Black woman who is educated, who wants to be a leader in this world. And when I saw that, I brought it home to my parents, and I said, Tandy, you came to this country, I know you believe in me. And my father was always like, whatever you know is best for you, Jessica, I support you 100%. Stay in school, learn, and do well, and finish college. And my mom's like, well, you better go to college. So you have no choice. So is this the school you want to go to? Tuition at Spelman was expensive. That was about $35,000 a year. But it was private school, small, about 2,000 girls, and it just seemed perfect. It was perfect for me. And so I put my best foot forward. I said all the prayers in the world, parce que at that time, the school's motto was our whole school for Christ. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna write the best essay I can write. I already had the volunteer experience parce que yo besoin moun sa fait volontaire en pile.
Okay.
Yes, so m'te gen en pile experience, m'te gen graduate, m'te gen recommendations, and so I put in my application early notification parce que m'te besoin connait pi bonnet si m'prale.
C'est grand matin.
Yes. And so moi fait early en pile d'autres applications yo. I will never forget, I was home and it was Christmas Eve. And I went out to the mailbox and I got a big letter from Spelman. I opened it. It just said, congratulations, welcome to the 144th class. I just started screaming in the middle of the street. I live in a subdivision, so it's just, it's private. But I was screaming, and someone's walking their dog, Black man. He was like, you okay? I said, yes, I just got into Spelman. He said, oh, congratulations, sister. I was like, thank you. I ran to my friend's house across the street. I was barefoot, piate, running around in the street. I was so happy and excited. And when my parents saw the joy in my eyes, when I told them the alumna that come from Spelman, what they do after they graduate, the jobs they get, the opportunities they have, they were on board.
Can you share that you alumni qui sorti dans Spelman? Et tant qu'on fait mentionner, qui côté aller, qui ça vous fait, qui différence que vous fait?
Let me see. Woo, pressure. A lot of the alumni that come from Spelman. Let's see. For instance, I'll talk about those who are recent. We had Michelle and Barack Obama come to our school to talk for graduation. I graduated in 2013, so that's when they started to come. The person who was secretary to Michelle Obama was a Spelman alumna. So we have Spelman, there's one who is now, a lot of them are on boards, CEOs on boards. They work for Forbes magazine or just the entity in general. There's so many just running through my mind right now that I'm thinking
one of the things that is common to all of them, we can say they are all Black women, and I love that. There's many of them are lawyers. For instance, I was just talking about how my new position with the music industry. My friend who I've been with since freshman year, she sends me a message. Oh, Jessica, side note, I just started working for a firm. We help Caribbean artists get visas so they can work in the US. So if you need some help, let me know. That's the type of connections all of my friends, when I think of them right now, dentists, doctors, one is an OBGYN. Like, I'm like, you can deliver my kid. Like, if, I have lawyers in all facets. Some went to Harvard Law School after Spelman. Some went to China with me. They go to different countries, teach. A lot of us have. A lot of us spent some years in different countries. Every sector. And I studied psychology. So many of them have their own private practice at this point. Like, if you need a therapist,
Spelman. And I even had to do rehabilitation one time. I remember I had to go to the doctor, and I was at one place and I didn't too much like the treatment I was receiving at that one place. So I went out and found another. And when I got to that doctor, she was Black, and she was Spelman alumna.
Wow.
And I was like, and she helped me. I am much more like agile and healthy because I was working on a hip issue. She helped me heal. And I was thinking to myself, that's why the world needed us, Black women, because the medical field, the legal field, every field you can think of, there's some form of discrimination. There's some form of barrier that is deeply rooted in racism. And so I had a white male doctor tell me nothing was wrong with me. But when I went to my Black female doctor, Spelman alumna, I felt home, and she helped me. That's just a few of the things.
While we are talking right now, some young girls, Black,
Yes.
Haitian, or non-Haitian,
Yes.
are watching you. And they said, you know something, based on what she said, I'm thinking about checking and going to Spelman as well.
Yes.
I want to spell my name well in the
Yeah.
They need to pay me for that.
Right.
And then, now, what qui ça capable faire, qui démarche, si vous intéressé, puis vous rentrer l'école, puis vous venez au Spelman 2, qui côté vous doit commencer pour faire démarche pour aller dans l'école ça?
Okay, definitely. What I would say first is do a lot of kind of what I did. Make sure that you find a way to make comfort in the environment that you're in. Because Spelman is expensive, but there were a lot of women, it was a range of, economical backgrounds. So there were women who could not afford, but they were so well versed in academia, meaning they kept their grades high.
Stay focused on your schooling.
They were focused, and they were volunteers. They were leaders. And this doesn't necessarily mean you have to be senior class president like I was. This means, I was also in church. I was, a group leader in my youth, in the youth sector at church. This is me making sure, feeding homeless. This was even giving old clothes away to those who didn't have it. I made every experience in some way I maximized whatever opportunity I had. Make sure you are versed in volunteer work, because that's something that's very dear to my heart. Make sure you're charitable, you're willing to give back, and you're receptive to any environment that is foreign to you. And the way I say that is that Spelman is very much trying to make sure people are well-traveled. We have a few wells that we go by, well-traveled, but that's one of them. And being well-traveled means you're not going to look down on the immigrant that's sitting next to you. You don't know their story. But what you are, a Spelman woman is going to be open-minded, like, where did you come from? We know what the diaspora is. So I would say do your research on countries that are Black. And that helped me at Spelman because the earthquake in Haiti happened my freshman year, and it impacted my family. And I remember crying in my dorm, so sad. And Spelman called all the Haitian descendants, anyone who's Haitian, come here. We did a ceremony. We all cried together. They were like, whatever you need, let us know. And I was able to put together a spring break trip to Haiti. I did that for 2 years, my junior and senior year. And I was able to bring people from Spelman and Morehouse. Morehouse is the all-male school next door. We all went to Haiti, and I was able to show them what it looks like and what we do and our food and everything. That's something that Spelman looks for. They're looking for people who are not afraid to stand in their truth.
Take a step.
And to take a step forward. You truly have to be a leader, or just, even if you're not someone who likes to be at the front, you need to be someone who understands how to follow. as well, because we all start somewhere. You know, we all have to learn from someone. So I would say get your grades together, do a lot of volunteer work and experience in charity, and look for ways to be a leader, and consider how your studies can make a positive impact on the world.
This means you need to have a proactive and positive mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
100%. Now, Jessica, ou fait expérience ou aller en Chine, c'est ça?
Oui, c'est ça.
Ou enseigner anglais. Qui soit apprendre de la Chine? Et qui ça que tu faut tomber là? Je connais que vous dit que question de volunteering, being a leader is part of you, and I can see it and I can feel it. Et avant que je me demande aussi si c'est côté maman ou bien côté papa, ou mais ça que tu mené en Chine, comment tu fais arriver là?
Ça que tu mené en Chine. OK, so, l'été 2013, j'étais pour le gradien, tout le monde a cherché job ou bien l'autre programme d'école pour entrer pour yoga, étudier, faire profession. And for me, I was not sure what I wanted to do. I had my degree in psychology, but I thought I was going to be a developmental scientist. I loved children, and I loved development and how the human brain works and how your childhood impacts who you become as an adult. I looked into PhD programs, but I realized I wasn't ready. I didn't do enough research or have enough experience to jump into something like that. And so there are a lot of people who just weren't sure yet what to do, which is okay. You are not going to know what you want to do right away sometimes, and that's fine. And I had friends like, Jessica, we're going to China to teach. And I was like, okay, let me apply. And I'm going to be completely honest, I applied to about 30 different jobs. They weren't jobs I necessarily wanted to do. They were just jobs that were looking for someone so that I can...
You went that experience.
Just so I can have a job, because I didn't know what to do. So when they said go for China, I was like, okay, I'll apply. It can't hurt, because I got rejected from like 30 other jobs. And China accepted me actually the next day. I had a final interview, and 2 hours later, they brought me on. And I was like, wow, I guess I'm going to go to China. I didn't think too much into it. I was just, I'm someone, if God leads me to it, I'm just gonna do it. And so it took some time. We prepared. I had to learn what life and culture was like for the Chinese. I had to learn how to teach someone how to speak English. And it wasn't just repeat after me. This is the linguistics. This is the, phonemes. This is how you say the words, and knowing that in their language, for instance, I'll give you an example, like with Haitians, ubadi ashla, lel no moa, the wabti heureux, right? But then when you try to show them the word in English, they might put an H even though there's not an H there. So parfois, si you have happy, you can di happy. But then when you give a word like open, parfois you can besoin di open, like comme ça. I had to learn that for
the phonetics,
Chinese language.
And the silent words.
Oh yeah. That was difficult. Chinese is not like any other language. So me growing up, I knew English, I knew some French, I knew Creole, I knew Spanish, because I minored, I did some Spanish classes at Spelman. That's where I learned a lot of my Spanish. So naturally, when you're not speaking their language, you want to just, what's the next language I know? Oh, Creole. Oh no, that doesn't work here. Oh, I can't say anything in French. I can't say anything in Spanish.
Nothing.
Chinese is a very difficult language to learn.
Did you master the language in the sense for the time that you were there?
Yes, I had to, because in China, I remember they eat anything. They will literally eat anything. And when I saw a chef go outside, pick up any bird, cut the head off and bring it inside, put it on the grill, and then give it to me to eat, I had to learn to say, I don't eat that. Because connais kilti pa yo, pas besoin jamais faire yo want. Ou comprendre? Faut yo dit serrer figi, say face. So yo bon manger.
To say neutral.
Yeah, I was like, oh. Yo manger. I had to eat fungus. Yeah, and I had to eat cow cartilage. Yo bon garlic, just plain garlic, comme ça, like just racher manger comme ça. Yo manger fourmi. Quelques bêtes, m'pas même connaître ça lié. M'pas mandé, m'pas just no. So,
combien de temps fait là?
M'fait une année. M'passe une année là. And that's when I said, non, merci bon Dieu papa. M'pas la donne, montre langue là parce que m'pas besoin de respecter moun. M'pas manger toute bagaille, but faut que moi deal avec bouche moi. And yo même en pile moun yo besoin apprendre anglais. So là yo wem, yo commencer parler anglais, me dit oh, okay, that's fine. So c'est ça me fait, but I learned a lot of Chinese. M'apprendre langue là pour m'ka dire on est perdu, mais qui côté m'rete, like you know ça m'pas manger ça, m'pas manger cochon, manger ça seulement, but, you know. Okay. So that helps me a lot.
Façon ko yé. Est-ce que l'on regarde tête ou est-ce que plus senti ou même genre papa ou senti ou même genre maman ou bien son combination de tous les deux? Et qui ça passe? Nous pas dire rien pour faire moun faire jaloux.
Non, on comprend oui. On t'a dit que moi en combination les livins sur qui genre de moun moyen les m'a travail ça c'est définitivement m'ka ouais ça dans famille maman parce que yo même yo te leader yo te gen business yo même te responsable en pile monde papa il était cultivateur so moi lui même on ti tranquille avec travail parce que vous connaissez faut chita faut quitter toute bagaille posée ou pas faire rien ou pas stress il gagne temps
pour l'analyser.
Il y a un temps pour cultiver toute agriculture ou pas pousser ou pas faire presser avec so my mom on top leader stern education and very their personality is very abundant. It's very in your face, direct, loud, confident. You have to be when you're a leader and people work for you. You have to, you know, put on this form. My father, what I get from him is he was a very funny, goofy man. He's hilarious. He's always making jokes. He's laid back and he's very much, you know what, just give it to God. Jesse, I don't know. S'il pas connaît un bagay, il pas pousser tête li pour aller chercher. Monsieur pas ouvert porte que il pas besoin ouvert. That's what I respect about my father. So moi avec lui-même, il est tellement calme, il est tranquille and funny and he'll wait for his time. So ça me prend non pas papa, just ton, Leo and from my mom is just be prepared then. When your time is here, be prepared. You need to be ready.
Est-ce que peut-être ou gen yon bagay qui passé et dans jeune âge et que c'est mon bagay qui censé te faire plaisir ou même parce qu'on pensait que ça va faire parent plaisir et puis peut-être ou parler avec papa et pour parler avec maman yo bon yon conseil et puis ça arrête dans tête ou jusqu'à aujourd'hui qui permettent que ou qu'à continuer progresser dans vie. Est-ce que vous avez un exemple comme ça pour nous?
Wow.
Bon, nous, même si vous avez plusieurs. Choisissez une.
An example, friends and relationships. You know, being in the U.S., people start dating and experimenting in high school. This is when you start hanging out with anyone and everyone. And my parents were like, no, Jessica, you can be kind, you can be friendly. You're attractive, but you don't need to be in a relationship or looking at any of that. You're not out, don't date until after college. That's what they kept telling me. They also said, be mindful of who you call friends and how you handle friends and the type of relationships that you have with these friends. Just be mindful of how, you know, not everyone was raised the way you were. you have different,
Standards.
Standard, yeah. So remember who you are first before you decide to follow the crowd. And that was something, when you go through puberty and you change and you start to become 16 ans, 17, 18. It's like,
rebelle.
Yeah, rebelle en pile. But c'est là ça, je commence à voir qui ça par exemple ça dit parce que n'importe temps mal suivre moun parce que zanmim te avec yo, you dis oh Jessie on aller là, and I'm like I know I should go home, but zanmim dit on aller so m'aller. We always got in trouble. It never ended well. Toujours désordre. And then kounya m'a gardé tête moi m'a dit wow. Qui j'aime bral di par ça que ça fait passer là. Plutôt moi prends conseil yo. Qu'elle aime pas besoin de yo parce que sache résoudre and dans l'avenir m'pas faire encore. How about that?
Yeah. Listen, for you in order to be successful, and I think that the first thing is you have to listen to your parents. The second, listen some more. The third, continue listening. And the fourth, never stop listening and follow what your parents have told you or that are telling you. Tell me.
Well,
is that the
a
part of yours?
A part of that is true.
Uh-huh.
I was definitely the child. I listened when it came to remaining focused in what I wanted to do. So I said, I'm going to do whatever I feel is right for my path. At times, my opinion and my direction differed from my parents. And it was never that I didn't listen to them or I didn't want to do what they told me to do. It was, I don't want to be a nurse. I don't want to go to community college. I didn't want to be a nurse. My mom was like, are you sure you want to go to China? But simpat al Chine, en pile opportunité que m'gain kounye m'parap gain. And they were nervous. A lot of times, don't hang out here, don't go there, don't follow. I listened to a lot of it. But then there were just certain things where I said, my happiness comes first. I'm not happy in this direction. And so I'm going to do, what I feel my personal connection with God and the energy, the spirit that I feel is right for me. Because I can listen to the advice they give me. At the end of the day, it is still my life. So I can't live my life for anybody else.
And how did you handle them? By having a conversation and trying to teach them about you, or you listen to them first, let them tell you, and you explain, like in life, we have options, and you analyze your stuff. How do you convince them? Because I'm sure that they will be on your case, but letting you do what will make you happy. How do you handle that situation? Because I'm sure that some people that are watching right now, young girls like you, young boys, they are in the same situation and they don't know how to address it.
It's very important that you make a plan. And the plan is, it took me some time to realize how to say certain things and what to say. There is going to be pushback. So I wasn't telling my family I want to go enlist in the Marines and become a sniper and kill people. I wasn't saying things like that. I wasn't saying I want to be an adult worker or, a stripper or something. I was telling them I see traditionally what a lot of Haitian women have done, and I don't want to do that. I wanted to be a doctor at first. I was going to be an OBGYN, and I studied, and I even went to medical school on an internship in undergrad, and I studied like a doctor. I did rotations, And something in me said, Jessica, you love the science, but you want a future family. You want to be there. You want to be present in the home. My mom was always at work as a nurse. And so when she was pushing that on me, I said, Mom, I'm sorry. You know,
good for me.
That's not, I know what's in my heart, and in my heart is I want to be a mother, I want to be a wife, and I want to be present in my future family. And I respect everything you've done, but I would not, you know, I wouldn't be enjoying my life if I was pursuing this path. And so that's when I started to look into other industries and professions and see, Jessica, what is it that you can do that will allow you to give back, allow you to use your knowledge and expertise to positively impact people, and allow you to still be able to handle a family. And when I realized that, I told my parents that. I said, guys, you guys weren't always home. You did what you had to do, but now you laid a foundation for my life that I don't have to necessarily do what you guys did. You know, you raised me on survival. I can raise my family on love if I choose this path. And when I let them know, you know, I'm not going to be happy if I do anything else, they had to accept it. And I just started going for the opportunities, and I told them afterwards, I'm like, hey guys, guess what? I got an opportunity to go to China. I've been accepted.
And you know whatever you are going to do, you will be successful in it.
Well,
That's one.
I did have confidence, but I didn't put success is the first pillar. For me, it was, can I learn something, and will I be happy with this outcome? Because after the first year of China, they wanted me to stay. They wanted me to be a professor at a college, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. This was a good experience for the year, but as far as they were willing to do the most to keep me.
If you let me bring my Haitian kitchen here, yes, I'll stay.
Yeah, a little something like that. A little bit.
You have your non-profit organization as well.
Right.
And working in Haiti.
Right.
And what do you do within your organization?
Well, one thing I'm passionate about is business. That's what I did after China. I went to school. I don't know if we'll touch on that, but and I was giving advice. I give consulting experience. I give advice, and while giving advice out to people, I always think about Haiti. I always think about home, and I was on a trip home, and I was at my friend's school in Kwarebouke, and remember I mentioned I had did spring break trip back then.
Yes. After the earthquake.
I didn't want to come empty-handed, so I brought jewelry. I collected all the jewelry from all the women at school and from my church. I was like, guys, they lost everything, but so give me your old jewelry and I will bring it to them and they can have something. And they were so happy when I did that. So I came back to the school and I said, what can I bring them? At this time, I was 1 year into my firm. I was traveling every week, working. I didn't have anything to bring, but I said, I can bring them knowledge. I can talk to them about English. I'm an English teacher, and I can teach them a lesson on business, maybe profit. So I did that. I made up a lesson. I asked my friend, hey, I'm coming to your school. Can I teach? Give me about 30, 40, 50 students, whatever. And I did that. And the feeling afterwards, after teaching them English class and then a short lesson on profit, I was so impressed because I said, these students, if they had the resources, they would be on top of the world. They were calculating profit with no calculator. I didn't bring calculator. I didn't even tell them the answer. What I was doing, and this is psychology, I was observing how they went about in finding the solution. And I was so proud. I was like, I want to do this forever. Like, I can probably wake up every day and teach these kids business. That's something I would love to do. And so I decided to, how can we make it work for them? So if you come to my class, I will give you food, do you need shoes to go to school? Because I noticed at school, there was supposed to be 500 students attending. Only 100 something showed up that first week. I asked, where's the rest of them? Oh, a lot of them are orphans or they're less avec. They don't have shoes. They have to fundraise for uniforms to come to school. And I said, I'm like, I will pay for school or I will buy you shoes. I will give you food if it means you'll come to school. And also, if you're interested in business, I will teach you. And so with that, I called it Leve, the Leve project. I brought it to the US. I made it, I built it up, and now it's 501c3, tax exempt organization. And what we're doing now is that started in 2019, but with a few of the, problems in Haiti, it's been difficult to get back. So we're doing online. We've been doing online classes for now.
Because time is the essence right now.
Yes.
And you have a new position.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to put all of those questions in one. Qui j'ont fait kon ZENGLEN? Jodi a c'est business manager pour ZENGLEN.
Yes.
Le ZENGLEN fait ou pot ko fait. Peut-être moi pas pour pot ko même nan yon a filé l'autre. OK. Alors, dans ce cas, côté ça sorti.
One of my businesses is a Haitian restaurant in New Jersey. And while being there...
What is the name of that restaurant?
Neges Creole Restaurant.
Neges Creole. Son moun nan zone Jersey, faut-y passer là. Al faut-y manger.
Oui, merci. And so that's when I started listening to compas. Parce que nous tap joué compas dans le restaurant. Moi-même, l'aime tap levé, papa m'a pas quitté. Tande Rémi Lochat seulement, à Champ d'Espérance. So, m'a joué compas, and m'a tendé, me dit, qui est ça? Like, who is this? This is classic music here. Who is this? And among them, I name a few, but two of my favorite was Rodrigue Millien and ZENGLEN. I couldn't meet Rodrigue. They told me, he's, he didn't pass yet, but they were just telling me. And so I was talking to a customer who comes a lot, and I was like, you know what? I would love if for my 30th birthday, I can have ZENGLEN perform for me, or another artist. He said, oh, that's my cousin. I know Boutis. And I was like, no, you don't. He's like, yes. And he called him. So he passed me the phone, and he's like, yeah, come to Florida. I'll meet you, and then we could talk about doing your birthday. So I went down to Florida because I was serious. Yeah. And I met him, great man, but I couldn't do my birthday party because of COVID. I was going to do a benefit concert. I wanted to raise money for my nonprofit for my birthday. And I just said I didn't want to risk it. Yeah. But I kept in contact. So when he would come to New Jersey, or I went to Florida again, we kept in contact trying to make it work. It just wasn't working because of COVID. So finalement, I came to Florida. I said, hey, I'm here. And we just started talking. And I was talking to him I was like, moi, mes ZENGLEN. But I went on the social media. I noticed this wasn't here. I looked this up. I went here. I went there. I was like, have you considered doing this? Have you considered doing that? And I had a lot of just strategies. And this came from me over the years working with marketing, social media strategy, and from being a business consultant. So let me do ça.
GVC. C'est GOURDET Ventures
Consulting, yeah. So from working with clients and doing all of that, I started dropping ideas, and because he was like, you're right, this makes sense, okay, Kijan. And I kept going. And like I said, for me, it doesn't feel like work. I love to do it. So I saw he was serious, and we just had more conversations, and we built a plan, and he was excited, I'm excited, so alors,
Qu'on y a très bientôt pour un projet qui va sortir. C'est moun pour interpréter, chanter musique. We call that covers.
Yes.
And then the best voices, and then we'll be able to play.
Well, to play for ZENGLEN. ZENGLEN c'est une plateforme que yo remet artistes, yo ba opportunité pour montrer qui ça ou ka fait, talent. And so we're like, you know what? This is a way to engage with this new generation, because ZENGLEN has changed over the years. So it's time. There's so many people who have talent among the diaspora, because a lot came from overseas, from Haiti and Canada. So what about here in the US? And so the cover competition will give you opportunity to show your talent, what you can do, and we will just select a few to perform for ZENGLEN. And who knows what that can do for the career.
Pour le monde prendre contact avec vous, c'est qui j'en vous faire?
You can find me on social media. I'm Jessica Jolie on Instagram and Facebook, you know, Membagaila, Jessica Goudet, or on Twitter. But I go by Jessica Jolie on Instagram. That's the best way to send me a message.
Okay. And before we leave, you can look at your camera and say, on valorise tête nous dans Mitan Kafoua.
On valorise tête nous dans Mitan Kafoua.
OK.
Yes.
Eh bien, Jessica, Nabdou, merci pour participation dans Mitan Kafoua. Je suis certain que il y a un pile saldi qui pourra inspirer et motiver moun qui dans l'âge li, moun qui plus petit passé, moun qui plus grand et pas de problème du tout. Et c'est ça rôle Mitan Kafoua, c'est valoriser tout le monde. Ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire, des gens qui travaillent chaque jour le croise avec l'autre, tu supposé dire merci ou pas qu'on est li passé ou passé. Moun sa yo podium Mitan Kafoua, c'est pour moun pa ou yo, moun pa mieux, moun sa yo valoriser nous chaque jour et quel que soit côté yo dans tout ça que y a fait, nous disons merci pour ça yo fait pour nous, pour ça continuer faire pour nous et je dis à nous gagné madame Jessica Gourdet.
Yes,
nous disons merci et nous valoriser dans Mitan Kafoua. Continuer faire ce qu'on faire. Nous apprécier et tout le monde qui a une chance tendez aujourd'hui à apprécier ce qu'on fait. Vous comprenez ce qu'on a fait? Subscribe, abonnez dans la chaîne YouTube Mitan Kafoua. La bon pour parce que nous avons des rôles modèles qui existaient déjà quand Jessica Gourdet sous podium Mitan Kafoua pour parler de l'expérience de vie privée et professionnelle. Comment vous faire arriver côté arriver. Nous disons tout le monde merci. Non pas c'est Marc Lubin. Vous comprenez ce qu'on a fait? Nous avons continué à valoriser tête nous dans Mitan Kafoua. Nous valorisons dans Mitan Kafoua. Merci. Dans Mitan Kafoua. Mitan Kafoua, c'est podium pour tout Haïtien ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire. Quel que soit côté où il y a à travers le monde, nous menons sur podium Mitan Kafoua. Moun sa c'est moun pa ou yo, c'est moun pa mio. Nous devons valoriser dans Mitan Kafoua. Ce sont des Haïtiens qui font un travail extraordinaire. Ils sont des moun ordinaires. Yo humble, yo pas aimé parler de tête yo. C'est ça yo fait qui parle pour yo. Et je dis à yo ban nous chance. Yo vinn partager vie privée yo, vie professionnelle yo. Avec vous, côté quoi besoin inspiration, côté que y a guidé pour capable progresser tout. Mitan Kafoua, c'est podium tout haïtien ordinaire qui font un travail extraordinaire. Nous valorisons dans Mitan Kafoua.